Peace, y'all. We made it. The Matrix, the algorithm, and the human experience. I was uh I was thinking about the movie The Matrix. It was a point in the movie that Morpheus was talking to he was talking to Neo, and he offered him the blue pill, and he offered him or the red pill, right? On one hand, he said, "I'm only offering the truth," or if you want to remain, asleep, or you want to believe whatever you wanted to believe, go back to your own thing, you would take the blue pill. So that's where the concept of, red pill and blue pill come from, right? The movie The Matrix. Okay. But I just want to touch on the human experience, right? No one, no one in the universe is looking at the same video or the same movie from the same lens, right? On the wake up, we have our own, I want to say our own supporting cast or cast of like a movie, right? The star of your movie would be you. Everyone else is sort of like the supporting cast. You got you know, your supporting actress, the supporting actor, props and whatnot. Each one of us has our own motion picture where we are the main character. All right. And we experience life through that lens. Okay. It's a motion picture in motion. All right. The ideas or the ideology, whatever you want to call it, our common customs, our culture, things that we've experienced throughout our lifetime shapes our perception of what we view this experience as. I'll give you an example. If you have someone that comes from a certain demographic, a certain environment, right? That in which is impoverished in a certain red-lined, quote unquote, underprivileged, right? In urban society, they have a outlook on the world, and that outlook on the world has sets precedence on its experience coming up day to day in the household, and the relationship with the household and relationship outside of it, their relationship and how it relates to the environment. Okay, so that reality, I want to call it, that experience is shaped in that bubble. That could be the total opposite end of that polarity, dealing with someone with a different human experience, from their environment and their relationship to their environment, and how they relate it to their experience in life, right? That's the human experience. Okay, your perception and how you perceive things, that's intaking data and really internalizing it and manifesting it into your everyday, let's say your everyday moving or motion picture, has everything to do with your human experience. Okay, now the the fact of the matter is, if I was given the opportunity to, let's say, swap or trading places, right? Shout out to the movie with Eddie Murphy, Trading Places, right? The trade places with, from that everyday, let's say that everyday red line human experience that I've mentioned, in for the example, right? And that environment, the same individual, right, grew up in, let's say, an impoverished, you know, upbringing, right? And it's so-called, so to speak, of the environment, right? Urban environment, right? Now, if I was able to trade places from out of that and become the richest person, let's say in the world, a Bill Gates or somebody like that, right? Just for example, right? With that kind of money, with that experience, what could that money, all the money, bring to that experience? Because on one hand, the situation is flipped. Okay, now you're not coming from being redlined or outlined in the impoverished world, or the impoverished the impoverished environment, right? But the experience may actually be the same. So what would that individual do with a whole lot of, or endless amounts of money per se, right? Not changing the experience, okay, but just the factors in it. They're able to experience life uh with a new lens of having, let's say, endless amounts of money, right? Would that be conducive to the individual that was only that was kind of, whose human experience was that in lack, and it's relative or relatable, it relates to the environment, the impoverished environment of their human experience? I give you an example. If you take someone that has an addiction to a drug, or said, a drug addict, right? And you give them, endless amounts of money, they might buy endless amounts of drugs, and it wouldn't be conducive to them, right? Because money makes you that much more in what you already are, in theory, right? So I say that to say, you could take someone in a certain environment, right, that has the opportunity to get away from the constraints of the environment, or the everyday, or as colloquial sense, day-to-day rituals and routines of a said environment, that same red line, and they can experience life, outside of that bubble, and experience something different, even though they still are from the same place, right? And it can experience life and grow, grow to expand, or let's just say expand, broaden horizon, to see something that they're not really used to seeing, in their own bubble, or in that bubble in which one come from, right? That's the algorithm. That's the algorithm, and how it plays a part in, this human experience. Okay, the power in suggestion, right? If something is suggested that I'm supposed to like a certain type of activity, by the environment, right? Or by the culture, or the common customs, right? That's what culture really is, common customs, right? That goes towards a certain group of people, right? That goes with it. If I'm supposed to like a certain type of activity, I'm supposed to think a certain type of way, supposed to live a certain type of way, and believe a certain type of way, right? That that is an algorithm, and it's a suggestion. When someone gets out of that by expansion and being exposed to certain things, you can break into a different algorithm, and that can change your perception of that in which you came. Now, what does that have to do with the Matrix? The truth of the matter is, you can change your thought at will. The mind is the real threat. Anything that you give your time, energy, and discipline to, you can manifest. Repeatedly. Just because someone failed at a certain thing doesn't mean that you're unable to pick up the pieces or succeed at something else. If not, the same thing than what you failed at. Okay. It's giving the time and the energy to work out the kinks to figure it out. All right. The algorithm, getting in front of, or getting in line in the suggestion, in the movement, in the rhythm of something other than what you're suggested to do, or maybe I don't want to say told to do, because that is sort of like what a suggestion does. It gives you the illusion of you making a choice. Example, if you go down to the villa and it's 3 new drops for that day, and to buy a sneaker, right? You're only choosing from the 3 selections that dropped that day that was already pre-chosen for you. So are you really choosing at all? See, it's the power in the suggestion. It's the algorithm, right? You go somewhere else, it might not be the choice or the drop of the day, per se. There's plenty of spaces, to buy shoes at, right? It's plenty of spaces in this planet you can land at. It's all types of walks of life, and the one that you choose, or the one that you were suggested to choosing, or just the one that you was exposed to, we take on the perception of this is it. And this is not it. This is fruition. And fruition is you are the universe, and everything relates itself to you and your brain pattern and what algorithm you put yourself in. You want to change your mind, you change your algorithm, you change your rhythm, you change your routines, change your habits. All right. And it's all about, it's about dealing with the self. The self is the universe. It's the self. The self is the human experience. Your human experience is not the same experience I'm having. In my experience. Yeah, just to talk, just to chop it up a little bit, man. I hope everybody has a truly wonderful, great everything. I'm Drew. Peace.